Commander Zalthex stood before the massive holographic display in the Galactic Council chambers, his four arms gesturing toward the slowly rotating image of a blue-green world. The planet Earth hung suspended in the center of the room, its surface marked with the telltale scars of orbital bombardment and atmospheric burning. "As you can see, esteemed council members," Zalthex announced to the assembled representatives of 47 different species, "the human homeworld remains as dead as it has been for the past century. Our monitoring stations confirm no signs of technological activity, no electromagnetic signatures, and certainly no population centers." The Veltar ambassador, her crystalline form refracting the hologram's light into rainbow patterns across the chamber walls, clicked her approval. The cleansing was thorough. The humans were a plague upon the galaxy, and their elimination has brought unprecedented peace to our sectors. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the council chamber. The Zephyrian delegates' tentacles writhed with satisfaction, while the Korthak representative's massive bulk shifted in what passed for a nod among his species. For 100 standard galactic years, the assembled civilizations had celebrated the end of humanity's brief but terrifying expansion into their space. Dr. Sarah Chen watched the proceedings through her concealed monitoring equipment, her enhanced neural implants processing the alien languages in real time. She sat in the command center of Installation Prometheus, buried 3 kilometers beneath the Canadian Rockies, surrounded by technology that would have seemed like magic to her ancestors from a century ago. "Still talking about how thoroughly they exterminated us," she said to her companion, Admiral Marcus Webb, whose cybernetic eye glowed softly as he accessed tactical data streams. If they only knew. Webb's augmented fingers danced across his control interface, pulling up status reports from hidden human installations across the galaxy. 12 active colonies, 47 deep space monitoring stations, and 6 mobile fleets, all running silent, all invisible to their sensors. The fools think a few orbital strikes could eliminate humanity. The truth was far more complex than the Galactic Council could imagine. When the Allied alien forces had launched their coordinated assault on human space, they had indeed caught Earth's conventional forces off guard. The planet's surface installations were destroyed, its major cities reduced to radioactive craters, and its orbital defenses overwhelmed by the sheer number of attacking vessels. But humanity had learned from history. Deep beneath Earth's crust, in facilities that had been under construction for decades before the war began, millions of humans had survived in status chambers, their bodies sustained by advanced life support systems, while their minds were uploaded into quantum storage matrices. For a century, they had evolved, adapted, and planned. Dr. Chen stood and walked to the massive viewing screen that showed the chamber's primary display. Earth looked dead from space, its atmosphere clouded with particulates that blocked detailed surface scans. What the aliens couldn't detect were the massive underground cities that now stretched across continents, connected by transportation networks that operated through dimensions the alien races hadn't even discovered yet. "Phase 3 preparations are complete," reported Dr. Elena Vasquez as she materialized beside them through a holographic projection system. Her actual location was on Kepler 442b, nearly 1,200 light-years away, where she commanded humanity's primary research colony. "The new ships are ready for deployment, and our tactical simulations show a 97% success probability for the initial engagement." Webb's expression remained grim despite the positive report. 97% against a force that outnumbers us 1,000 to 1. "I'd prefer better odds." "The numbers are misleading," Chen interjected, pulling up tactical data on her neural display. "Our analysis of their current military capabilities shows they've grown complacent. No major conflicts for a century means their technology has stagnated, while ours has advanced exponentially. They're using the same weapon systems that defeated our ancestors." The irony wasn't lost on any of them. The aliens had won their war against humanity by overwhelming them with superior numbers and established technology. But in their victory, they had eliminated what they saw as the galaxy's greatest threat, while actually creating its greatest weapon. Hidden humanity had spent a century doing what they did best, adapting, innovating, and preparing for the impossible. On the holographic display, Commander Zalthex was concluding his presentation to the Galactic Council. In summary, the human threat has been permanently neutralized. Our continued monitoring of their former territories confirms that no remnant populations exist anywhere in known space. The galaxy is secure. Ambassador Veltar rose from her crystalline seat, her form casting geometric shadows across the chamber floor. Perhaps it's time to cease our monitoring of human space entirely. The resources could be better allocated to expanding our trade networks. I concur, rumbled the Korthak delegate, his voice like grinding stone. A century of watching empty worlds serves no purpose. Let us officially close the human file and focus on more productive endeavors. Dr. Chen smiled as she watched the vote proceed unanimously. The Galactic Council was about to stop monitoring human space entirely, removing one of the few obstacles to the next phase of their plan. As the alien representatives filed out of the chamber, their victory celebration echoing through the halls, she opened a secure communication channel to the hidden human installations across the galaxy. All stations, this is Prometheus Base, she announced. The Galactic Council has just voted to cease monitoring of human space. Operation Lazarus moves to Phase 4 as of now. Begin final preparations for emergence. The responses came back instantly from dozens of installations. Commander Harrison from the Vega Station. Stealth Fleet reports all systems operational and ready for deployment. Dr. Patel from the Andromeda Research Facility. Dimensional manipulation technology tested and confirmed. We can punch through their defensive screens like paper. Captain Morrison from Deep Space Platform 7. Enhanced human operatives are in position throughout their major population centers, awaiting activation codes. Webb leaned back in his command chair, his cybernetic systems interfacing directly with the installation's central computer. 100 years of preparation, enhanced genetics, quantum consciousness uploading, dimensional technology, and weapons that operate on principles they can't even comprehend. They thought they were fighting primitive humans with chemical rockets and nuclear weapons. They were, Chen replied, her own enhanced neural pathways processing tactical scenarios at superhuman speeds. But they weren't fighting what we became. The transformation hadn't been easy or without cost. The human species that had emerged from its century-long hibernation bore little resemblance to their ancestors beyond basic genetic structure. Neural enhancement allowed them to process information at rates that made their thoughts nearly telepathic. Genetic modification had eliminated disease and extended lifespans indefinitely. Quantum consciousness uploading meant that death was merely an inconvenience. Most importantly, they had solved the fundamental problem that had led to their initial defeat: unity. The old humanity had been divided by nations, religions, and ideologies. The new humanity shared a collective consciousness that could coordinate actions across galactic distances while still preserving individual thought and creativity. Dr. Chen called up a display showing the current positions of Galactic Council fleets. Their ships were scattered across hundreds of systems, focused on commerce and patrol duties rather than military preparedness. Most telling, their heaviest concentrations were in the wealthy core systems, far from the outer rim territories where humanity had begun its quiet resurgence. They've made the classic mistake, Webb observed. They've prepared to fight the last war, not the next one. Their formations are designed to counter massed human fleets using conventional tactics. They have no idea what enhanced humans can do with technology a century ahead of theirs. The communication system chimed with an incoming priority message. Captain Sarah Okafor's image appeared on the main screen, her features subtly altered by the genetic enhancements that had turned her into something between human and living weapon. She was calling from the UHS Resurrection, flagship of the hidden human fleet currently stationed in the Proxima Centauri system. Prometheus Base, this is Resurrection Actual. We've completed final systems checks and are ready to begin the demonstration phase. Request permission to reveal ourselves to the Centaurian colony. Chen exchanged glances with Webb. The Centaurian colony was a minor Galactic Council outpost, heavily defended but not strategically critical. It would serve perfectly as their announcement to the galaxy that humanity had returned, and returned changed. Permission granted, Resurrection. Show them what we've become. Okafor's smile was predatory. With pleasure. Resurrection out. As the communication ended, Chen turned to address the installation's primary council chamber, where the leaders of humanity's various factions had gathered to witness this moment. Scientists, military commanders, philosophers, and engineers who had spent a century transforming their species into something that could not just survive in a hostile galaxy, but dominate it. "Ladies and gentlemen," she announced, her words being transmitted instantly to every human installation across known space, "we are no longer hiding. In approximately 6 hours, the galaxy will learn that humanity is not extinct. They will learn that we have spent a century evolving beyond their comprehension, and they will learn that the greatest mistake they ever made was giving us time to grow in the darkness." The assembled leaders stood as one, their enhanced minds already coordinating the complex operation that would announce humanity's return. Ships that had waited in dimensional pocket spaces for decades began powering up their exotic energy systems. Enhanced humans who had lived among alien populations for years activated their dormant capabilities. Weapons that operated on principles beyond current galactic science started their targeting sequences. Dr. Chen walked to the installation's main viewport, looking out through the transparent aluminum at the vast underground city that stretched beyond the horizon. Millions of enhanced humans moved through the corridors and chambers, their society rebuilt from the ground up to be faster, smarter, and infinitely more unified than anything their ancestors could have imagined. Above them, the surface of Earth remained a radioactive wasteland, exactly as the aliens had left it. But beneath the soil, humanity had built something unprecedented in galactic history, a civilization that had died and been reborn as something far more dangerous than what had come before. "They wanted to eliminate the human threat," she whispered to herself, watching as enhanced children played in gardens that grew under artificial suns. Their laughter carried through air recycled by technology that could transform matter at the molecular level. Instead, they just gave us time to become the threat they always feared we could be. The countdown to emergence had begun. Soon, the galaxy would learn that the greatest predator in known space had never been extinct at all. It had simply been waiting for the right moment to reveal that evolution was humanity's greatest weapon, and they had just spent a century perfecting it. In 6 hours, the peace the aliens had enjoyed would be over. The real war was about to begin. The alarm klaxons aboard the Centaurian defense station pierced through the normally quiet hum of routine operations. Station Commander Thexakar burst from his rest quarters, his insectoid legs carrying him swiftly to the command center, where his sensor operators were staring at their displays in obvious confusion. "Report!" Thexakar chittered, his compound eyes focusing on the main tactical display. "Unknown contact emerging from hyperspace at Grid 77 Alpha," reported his sensor chief, a nervous Veltar whose crystalline structure was flickering with uncertainty. "But, sir, the readings make no sense. The ship appears to be materializing from somewhere that doesn't exist." Thexakar studied the sensor data with growing alarm. The incoming vessel wasn't following any known method of faster-than-light travel. Instead of the familiar energy signatures of hyperspace entry or wormhole transit, their instruments showed something impossible. A ship stepping sideways into normal space from what appeared to be a completely separate dimension. Size and configuration, he demanded. Approximately 2,000 meters in length, but the mass readings are inconsistent with known materials, the sensor chief replied, her voice becoming more strained with each word. The hull appears to be composed of matter that our scanners cannot properly identify. Sir, this technology is unlike anything in our databases. The main display flickered and resolved into a clear image of the approaching vessel. Thexkar felt his spiracles close in involuntary fear as he took in its design. The ship was undeniably elegant, its hull flowing in curves that seemed to bend light around them. Weapon ports were visible along its length, but they didn't match any known energy projection systems. Most disturbing, the ship seemed to be scanning their station with methods that bypassed their defensive screens entirely. "Incoming transmission," announced the communications officer. "They're using our own frequency protocols, but the signal is coming through channels we didn't know existed." "Put it through," Thexkar ordered, straightening his ceremonial armor. The holographic display shimmered and resolved into the image of a figure that made everyone in the command center freeze. The being appeared humanoid, but wrong in subtle ways that triggered deep evolutionary warnings in every alien present. The skin was too perfect. The eyes held an intelligence that seemed to process information at impossible speeds, and when it smiled, the expression carried implications that their minds couldn't quite grasp. "Greetings, Centaurian Defense Station," the figure said, its voice carrying harmonics that resonated through their communication systems in ways that shouldn't have been possible. "I am Captain Sarah Okafor of the United Human Starship Resurrection. We request permission to dock for cultural exchange and trade negotiations." The command center erupted in chaos. Multiple officers began speaking at once, their various languages creating a cacophony of confusion and fear. Thexkar slammed his primary manipulator against his command console, the sharp crack bringing order back to his bridge. "Impossible," he declared. "Humans are extinct." "This is some kind of deception." Captain Okafor's smile widened, revealing teeth that gleamed with an inner light that suggested they were more than simple bone. "Commander Thexkar, I understand your confusion. Your records show that humanity was eliminated a century ago. Those records are both accurate and incomplete." "How do you know my name?" Thexkar demanded, but even as he asked, he realized the terrifying implication. Their station's personnel records were stored behind multiple layers of encryption and shielding. "We know many things," Okafor replied calmly. "We know that you have 47 crew members, that your defensive systems are powered by trilithium fusion reactors, and that your wife Shextal is expecting your third offspring on Centauri Prime. We know these things because we have been watching, learning, and preparing for this conversation for several decades." The sensor chief's crystalline form began flashing urgent warnings. "Sir, I'm detecting massive energy buildups throughout the system, multiple contacts emerging from dimensional space at coordinates that put them in perfect tactical positions around all our defensive installations." Thexkar's compound eyes swiveled to the tactical display, and what he saw there made his chitinous exoskeleton begin to secrete stress hormones. Ships were appearing throughout the Centaurian system, each one using the same impossible dimensional technology as the Resurrection. Within moments, every defensive platform, orbital station, and patrol vessel was surrounded. "This is not an invasion," Captain Okafor announced before Thexkar could respond. "This is a demonstration. We want the galaxy to understand that humanity has returned, but we have returned changed. We are no longer the species that fought with chemical rockets and nuclear weapons." "What do you want?" Thexkar asked, his voice barely controlled. "To talk. Nothing more, nothing less. But we needed to establish that we are talking as equals, not as subjects to their former conquerors." The holographic image of Captain Okafor gestured, and the main display split to show feeds from across the Centaurian system. Human ships hung motionless next to alien installations, their exotic energy signatures creating patterns that made the viewing screens shimmer. What was most unnerving was their perfect positioning. Every human vessel was placed to neutralize multiple defensive points simultaneously, demonstrating tactical analysis capabilities that exceeded anything in known space. Your defensive grid has 17 critical vulnerabilities, Okafor continued conversationally. Your patrol routes follow predictable patterns that leave windows of opportunity every 47 minutes. Your communication systems use encryption methods that we broke during our first hour of observation. We mean you no harm, Commander, but we needed you to understand that we could take your entire system without firing a single shot. Thexkar activated his emergency communication system, sending priority alerts to Galactic Council Command. The response came back within minutes, complete disbelief and orders to maintain his position while reinforcements were dispatched. The implications were staggering. If humans had somehow survived and developed this level of technology in secret, every assumption the galaxy had made for the past century was wrong. "How is this possible?" he finally asked. "Our forces were thorough. We confirmed the extinction of your species." Captain Okafor's expression grew more serious. "You destroyed our surface civilizations and killed billions of our people. But humanity's greatest strength has always been adaptation. While you celebrated your victory, the survivors went underground, literally and figuratively. We rebuilt ourselves from the genetic level up, integrating technologies that your species consider impossible because you never faced extinction. Necessity drove innovation beyond your comprehension." The censor chief suddenly looked up from her station, her crystalline form now strobing with panic. "Sir, I'm detecting human life signs on the station. Multiple signatures, scattered throughout our crew quarters and command sections." The command center fell silent. If humans were already aboard their station, had been aboard for who knew how long, then every assumption about their security was meaningless. "Commander Velshek, report to the command center immediately," Thexkar ordered through the internal communication system. "I'm afraid Commander Velshek is indisposed," came a voice from the back of the bridge. Everyone turned to see a human figure emerging from what had appeared to be an empty corner of the room. The being was tall and moved with predatory grace, but like Captain Okafor, there was something fundamentally altered about their appearance. Their eyes held depths that seemed to contain computational power beyond biological possibility. "I am Agent David Park," the figure announced. "I have been stationed on your facility for the past 6 months, monitoring your operations and ensuring the safety of your crew during our revelation. Commander Velshek is currently unconscious in his quarters, along with the rest of your security detail. They will wake in approximately 1 hour with no memory of the past 12 minutes and no knowledge of my presence." Thexkar's weapon appendages began to extend involuntarily, an instinctive response to threat that he couldn't control. Agent Park noticed the movement and raised one hand in a peaceful gesture. "Commander, I understand your fear, but please observe our actions rather than our capabilities. We could have taken your entire system without announcing ourselves. We could have eliminated your crew without trace. We could have made your station disappear and left no evidence of our existence. Instead, we chose to reveal ourselves and request dialogue. This should tell you something about our intentions." Captain Okafor's image on the communication screen nodded approvingly. "Agent Park speaks truly. We have spent a century developing capabilities that your current technology cannot match. But we have also spent that time determining what kind of civilization we want to be. We chose evolution over revenge." The censor chief looked up from her station again, her voice now carrying tones of awe mixed with terror. "Sir, I'm analyzing the human ship's energy signatures. The power output from their smallest vessel exceeds our station's entire grid capacity by a factor of 12. Their largest ship is generating power levels that our instruments can't measure properly." "What do you want from us?" Thexkar asked, his command training finally overriding his fear. Recognition, Captain Okafor replied simply. For a century, the galaxy has operated under the assumption that humanity was extinct. This has led to certain political and economic arrangements that we find unacceptable. We want our rightful place restored, and we want the truth about our supposed extinction to be acknowledged. Agent Park moved closer to the command station, his movements precise and controlled. The Galactic Council ordered our extermination not because we were aggressive, but because we were advancing too quickly. Your various species had reached a technological plateau and were comfortable with the status quo. Humanity represented change, innovation, and the possibility that other civilizations might be surpassed, so they eliminated the threat. But in doing so, Captain Okafor continued, they eliminated the only species that had never sought to dominate others. The old humanity explored, traded, and shared knowledge freely. We offered partnership to everyone we met. In response, you gave us genocide. The tactical display updated to show human ships throughout the system beginning to power down their weapons, though their exotic energy signatures remained active. It was a gesture of peaceful intent, but one that also demonstrated their complete confidence in their superiority. We are not seeking immediate change to galactic governance, Captain Okafor explained. We are not demanding territory or reparations for our losses. We are simply announcing our return and requesting that the truth be acknowledged. The Galactic Council will need time to accept this new reality. Thexkar studied the displays around him, taking in the implications of what he was seeing. Ships that operated on principles beyond current science, humans who had infiltrated secure installations without detection, technology that could dominate any known defensive system without apparent effort. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted fundamentally, and no one had known it was happening. What happens now? He asked. Now we establish communication protocols with the Galactic Council, Captain Okafor replied. They will undoubtedly want to verify our claims and assess our capabilities. We are prepared to demonstrate our technology under controlled circumstances. We want them to understand what we have become, not to threaten them, but to ensure that the mistakes of the past are never repeated. Agent Park gestured toward the communication station. We have prepared a full data package documenting our survival, evolution, and current capabilities. This information is being transmitted simultaneously to every major Galactic Council installation in known space. Within hours, every government will know that humanity has returned. The implications struck Thexkar like a physical blow. Trade agreements, territorial boundaries, military alliances, everything the galaxy had built over the past century was based on humanity's absence. Their return would force a complete reevaluation of galactic politics. The economic disruption alone will be catastrophic, he observed. Captain Okafor nodded. We have anticipated this. Our data package includes technological advances that will benefit all species, economic proposals that will enhance trade while incorporating human participation, and security arrangements that will make the galaxy safer for everyone. We spent a century not just advancing our capabilities, but learning how to integrate with galactic society without dominating it. Though, Agent Park added with a smile that carried predatory undertones, we also developed capabilities to ensure that no one will ever again attempt to eliminate us. The galaxy will need to accept that humanity is now a permanent part of its future. The bridge fell silent as everyone processed the magnitude of what they were witnessing. Humanity's return wasn't just a political development. It was a fundamental shift in the nature of galactic civilization. Species that had grown comfortable in humanity's absence would need to adapt to a new reality where their former victims had become something far more powerful than anyone had imagined possible. Commander, Captain Okafor said, her voice carrying new urgency. I'm receiving communication requests from 17 different Galactic Council fleets. They're demanding explanations for our presence in this system. I believe your superiors would like to speak with you. Thexkar activated his priority communication channel, knowing that his next conversation would change the course of galactic history. As the holographic display prepared to connect him with Galactic Council Command, he realized that he was about to become the being who delivered the most shocking news in centuries. The human threat had never been eliminated. It had simply evolved beyond recognition, and now it was demanding its place at the galactic table. The age of human absence was over. The age of human ascendancy was about to begin. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened just 18 hours after the first human contact at Centauri Station. Representatives from 47 species filled the Great Chamber, their various forms creating a tapestry of evolutionary diversity that had taken millions of years to develop. None of them had expected to spend this day rewriting everything they thought they knew about galactic civilization. Chancellor Mordak, the Korthak leader whose massive stone-like form dominated the central podium, called the session to order with thunderous blows of his ceremonial hammer. His species had led the galaxy for 3 centuries through strength and stability, but today his ancient voice carried undertones of uncertainty that resonated through the chamber's acoustic systems. "Fellow council members," Mordak began, his words translated into dozens of languages simultaneously, "we face an unprecedented situation. The species we eliminated a century ago has revealed itself to be not only alive, but transformed beyond our understanding. We must determine how to respond to this development." The holographic display at the chamber's center activated, showing the data package that human forces had transmitted to every major installation in galactic space. Technical readouts, sensor data, and tactical analyses painted a picture that challenged fundamental assumptions about technological progress and military capability. Ambassador Veltar's crystalline form was flickering with agitated patterns as she reviewed the information. "The energy signatures alone suggest technology several centuries ahead of our current capabilities. Their smallest vessels outgun our dreadnoughts. Their defensive systems operate on principles we cannot even identify, let alone counter." "More concerning," added the Zephyrian representative, his tentacles writhing with anxiety, "is their infiltration capabilities. The report from Centauri Station confirms human agents have been operating undetected throughout our space for decades. If they can place operatives anywhere they choose, our entire intelligence network is compromised." Dr. Elena Vasquez materialized in the chamber's visitor section through a holographic projection system that operated on principles the assembled aliens couldn't comprehend. Her appearance sent waves of unease through the gathered representatives. She looked human, but her eyes held computational depths that suggested processing power beyond biological limits. "Honored council members," she began, her voice carrying through the chamber with perfect clarity, despite using technology none of them recognized. "I am Dr. Elena Vasquez, representing the Reformed Human Federation. I come before you today not as a supplicant, but as an equal seeking acknowledgement of our return to galactic society." Chancellor Mordak leaned forward, his massive form creating shadows across the podium. "Dr. Vasquez, our records show conclusive evidence of humanity's extinction. How do you explain your species' survival?" Dr. Vasquez gestured, and the chamber's display system responded to her neural commands, showing images of vast underground cities, space-based habitats hidden in dimensional pockets, and orbital installations that had operated undetected for decades. "We survived because we adapted. When your combined forces devastated our surface civilizations, the survivors went deeper underground than your sensors could detect. We rebuilt our society around principles of concealment, evolution, and long-term planning. What we discovered during our century of isolation," she continued, "is that extinction pressure creates exponential innovation. While your civilizations grew comfortable with established technology, we were forced to develop capabilities that would ensure our survival against overwhelming odds. The result is what you see today. The Veltar ambassador's form flashed urgent query patterns. Your technological advancement rate appears impossible. Known laws of scientific development suggest linear progression, not the exponential leaps your data indicates. Dr. Vasquez smiled, an expression that seemed to carry implications beyond simple emotion. Ambassador Veltar, your species has never faced true extinction. You've never been forced to evolve or die within a single generation. We uploaded our consciousness into quantum storage, allowing us to accelerate research and development beyond biological limitations. We enhanced our genetics to eliminate the inefficiencies that slowed progress. We developed collective intelligence networks that allowed thousands of minds to work on problems simultaneously while maintaining individual creativity. She gestured again, and the display showed human installations across the galaxy, their locations marking a presence that encompassed every major trade route and strategic system. We spent 50 years rebuilding. We spent the next 50 years preparing. We have been ready to reveal ourselves for 2 decades. But we wanted to ensure that our return would lead to stable integration rather than another war. The chamber erupted in multilingual discussion as representatives conferred with their home governments through quantum communication systems. The implications were staggering. Humanity hadn't just survived, they had positioned themselves to dominate galactic civilization if they chose to do so. Commander Zalthex, whose presentation about human extinction had seemed so conclusive just days earlier, stood at his designated position with obvious discomfort. Dr. Vasquez, if your capabilities are as advanced as these readings suggest, why reveal yourselves now? Why not simply take what you want by force? Because we chose evolution over revenge, Dr. Vasquez replied. The old humanity might have sought to punish those responsible for our near extinction. The new humanity understands that stable civilization requires cooperation, not domination. We want our rightful place restored, but we want it through acknowledgement, not conquest. The Korthak Chancellor's voice rumbled through the chamber. What do you mean by rightful place? Dr. Vasquez's expression grew more serious. Before our supposed extinction, humanity was the fastest-growing civilization in the galaxy. We had colonies in 12 systems, trade agreements with 23 species, and research partnerships that were advancing galactic technology at unprecedented rates. We were eliminated not because we were aggressive, but because we represented change that some found uncomfortable. The display showed historical records that had been classified for a century. Communications between Galactic Council members discussing the human problem, strategic assessments of humanity's growth rate, and finally the decision to coordinate their elimination under the guise of a territorial dispute. The truth, Dr. Vasquez announced, is that humanity was targeted for genocide because we were advancing too quickly. Your various species had reached comfortable technological plateaus and were threatened by our innovation rate. Rather than compete or collaborate, you chose elimination. The chamber fell silent as the classified records played out on the central display. Evidence of premeditated genocide, disguised as legitimate military action, created a historical narrative that none of the current representatives had known existed. Ambassador Veltar's crystalline form went completely dark, a sign of extreme distress. These records, if they are authentic. They are authentic, Dr. Vasquez confirmed. We recovered them from multiple sources during our century of observation. We present them not to seek retribution, but to ensure that the truth is acknowledged. The galaxy must understand what actually happened and why it must never happen again. Chancellor Mordak consulted with his advisors through secure communication channels before addressing the chamber again. Assuming these claims are verified, what exactly are you proposing? Dr. Vasquez gestured toward the display, which now showed territorial maps and trade route analyses. We propose the restoration of human space, adjusted for current galactic boundaries. We request full membership in the Galactic Council with representation proportional to our population and capabilities. We offer technological partnerships that will benefit all member species while ensuring our permanent integration into galactic society. And if these requests are refused? Asked the Zephyrian delegate. Dr. Vasquez's smile returned, but now it carried undertones that made several representatives shift uncomfortably in their seats. We hope that won't be necessary to discuss. We have spent a century preparing for either cooperation or independence. We would prefer the former. The implications hung in the air like a physical presence. The Chamber's tactical analysis systems were already running projections based on the human technology demonstrations, and the results were sobering. Current galactic military forces wouldn't be able to threaten the revealed human capabilities even if they united completely. Dr. Vasquez, Chancellor Mordak said slowly, you speak of cooperation, but your underlying message appears to be submission or conflict. Not at all, Chancellor. We speak from a position of strength, but we offer partnership. We could have revealed ourselves by taking control of your major installations and demanding recognition. Instead, we chose to request dialogue and offer mutual benefit. This should demonstrate our commitment to peaceful integration. She gestured once more, and the display showed technological specifications that made the assembled representatives' advisory computers struggle to process the implications. Energy generation systems that operated beyond known physics, transportation networks that connected distant systems instantaneously, and manufacturing capabilities that could transform matter at the molecular level. We offer to share selective technologies that will improve life for all galactic citizens, Dr. Vasquez explained. Medical advances that will extend lifespans for every species, energy systems that will eliminate resource scarcity, and transportation technology that will make the galaxy smaller and more connected. In exchange, we want recognition, representation, and assurance that the mistakes of the past will not be repeated. The Veltar ambassador managed to restore her crystalline luminance enough to speak. The economic implications alone would transform galactic society. Advanced energy systems would make current power sources obsolete overnight. Transportation technology would revolutionize trade. Medical advances would alter the fundamental nature of biological existence. Yes, Dr. Vasquez agreed. We offer advancement for everyone, not just dominance for ourselves, but we also offer it from a position where we could simply take what we want if cooperation proves impossible. We hope the Council will choose progress over pride. Chancellor Mordak called for a brief recess, during which representatives frantically communicated with their home governments. The consensus was clear. Humanity's technological superiority was absolute, their infiltration capabilities were terrifying, and their offered partnership was essentially the only viable option for maintaining galactic stability. When the session resumed, the Korthak Chancellor's voice carried the weight of inevitability. Dr. Vasquez, the Galactic Council acknowledges the return of humanity and recognizes the validity of your territorial and representation claims. We accept your proposal for technological partnership and integration into galactic society. The formal words were accompanied by electronic confirmation from 47 different governments, transmitted simultaneously through quantum communication networks. What had taken minutes to decide would take years to implement, but the fundamental shift had occurred. Dr. Vasquez nodded respectfully. We appreciate the Council's wisdom. Human representatives will arrive at designated systems within the week to begin the integration process. We look forward to a productive relationship. As her holographic form prepared to fade from the chamber, Ambassador Veltar asked one final question. Dr. Vasquez, what guarantees do we have that humanity will not seek to dominate galactic civilization as your capabilities expand further? Dr. Vasquez paused, her enhanced features showing what might have been amusement, Ambassador, we already dominate galactic civilization. We have done so since we revealed ourselves yesterday. The question is not whether we will seek dominance, we already possess it. The question is whether we will exercise it responsibly. Her form faded from the chamber, leaving behind representatives who understood that their galaxy had fundamentally changed overnight. Humanity hadn't just returned from extinction, they had evolved into the galaxy's apex species and chosen to offer partnership rather than demand submission. In the days that followed, human ships appeared in systems throughout galactic space, their exotic technology turning theoretical science into practical reality. Trade routes that had taken weeks to traverse could now be completed in hours. Medical technology began extending lifespans and eliminating diseases that had plagued species for millennia. Energy systems provided abundance where scarcity had once created conflict. But most importantly, humanity demonstrated that evolution and advancement didn't require the elimination of others. They had become the dominant force in galactic civilization, not through conquest, but through adaptation, innovation, and patient planning. They offered advancement to all species, while ensuring that none could ever again threaten their existence. The galaxy entered a new age of unprecedented prosperity and technological advancement, guided by a species that had faced extinction and emerged stronger than anyone thought possible. Humanity had returned not as the civilization that had been destroyed, but as something far more powerful, a species that had learned to survive anything the universe could present and had chosen wisdom over vengeance. The human threat had indeed been eliminated a century earlier. In its place had emerged something far more significant: human leadership, offered freely but backed by capabilities that ensured it would be respected. The galaxy would never be the same, and for the first time in centuries, that promised to be a very good thing.